All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start with a bit of a spoiler warning. So I will be spoiling part of the plot of the 2023 film The Flash, starring Ezra Miller and Michael Keaton. So if you don't want to have that film spoiled, please leave now. All right, you've been warned. All right. So when I first saw the most recent trailer for the Flash movie, and I heard the whole thing about, there's no metahumans now, which is, of course, what led them open to the attack from Zod and the Kryptonians. I assumed that basically that they differed from the Flashpoint storyline, where instead of him just going back and saving his mom, he also went back and saved Bruce Wayne's parents. There's even a part in the trailer where it says, I could save your parents, Bruce. So I thought he did that. I thought he also went back and maybe saved Steve Trevor, who was the love interest of Wonder Woman. Maybe had there's something with Superman's parents, Kal-El, Clark Kent's parents. I thought he went back and changed some things to set things right. And so once I saw the actual plot, the question is how could saving his mother, whenever that happened when he was younger, affect things before. And I figured out how that might be the case. So, in the original timeline, Barry's mom is killed, his dad is falsely convicted of the murder, and he ends up working in a forensics lab to get his dad out of prison. And so, while working in that forensics lab, he gets struck by lightning, some chemicals, enter his body, and he gets the Flash powers. And so, in the movie, Barry goes back in time to prevent his mom from being murdered by placing a tomato sauce can in her basket. Now, what this does, it basically prevents his dad from having to go out and get that tomato can later. So in the movie, it's said that the murderer likely thought the house was empty, went in, saw the mom, and murdered her. It was a struggle, likely. And so by putting that tomato can in the basket, she lives because, again, his dad isn't out and the murderer doesn't come in there. And we get this new alternate timeline. And so in the Flash movie, Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne explains that time is non-linear. You have essentially feedback loops. And so time doesn't just flow linearly from point A to point B. It also flows backwards. And also there's cross sections. There's all sorts of interesting things happening. And so you think about how maybe parallel universes influence each other, time travel, so on and so forth. And so now in both the comics and in the Arrowverse, Barry Allen and Iris, the love interest that's introduced in the movie, they have a daughter, Nora Allen. And the important thing is that she is a time traveler. Now, this is important for a very key reason. So, again, in the original timeline, Iris and the Flash, Barry Allen, get together. They have a daughter who becomes a time traveler. And let's say that she goes back and starts to change events before the death of Barry Allen's mom, her grandmother, basically. So she goes back and starts to change things. Maybe she changes things in Bruce Wayne's life. Maybe she changes things in Diana, or something that relates to Superman in the past. So she goes back and changes these things. The moment that Barry changes the original timeline, all those changes get erased. And so in that case, by changing that one event, you affect not just Barry's life, so he, doesn't become the Flash, but also affects his daughter's life, who's a time traveler. And by affecting her life, it also affects every other life that she impacted before the death of her grandmother. All right, so that was the easy part. So again, spoiler alert, how to explain Ben Affleck, Michael Keaton, and George Clooney all being Bruce Wayne and, of course, Batman. All right, so one potential explanation for this comes from a film I saw a while back called About Time, starring Rachel McAdams and Domhnall Gleeson. It's a rom-com, British rom-com. And so in the film, a really interesting thing happened. So the time traveler played by Gleeson goes back in time, and he finds, and as he comes back to the original timeline, he finds that the child that he had in the original timeline no longer exists. So basically, him and his wife conceived of a child at a different time. So you have a different sperm, different egg, and so you get a different kid. And so using that same logic with, the different Batman, if if Thomas Wayne and his wife had conceived a child at a different time, even years earlier, the kid will be older versus younger. So Michael Keaton is older, maybe because they had kids earlier in life, maybe very young. I mean, I don't know how the age difference between Ben and Michael Keaton. Or again, if I think, let's say, assuming Ben and George Clooney are about the same age, have no idea. Let's say they are. You have kids within the same time period, but again, it's different day. Again, different sperm, different egg, and therefore you get a different kid. Now, of course, the thing that throws all this off is the fact that the parents look different in the picture. So you see the Michael Keaton, we've seen the Michael Keaton parents, and then we've seen the parents from the Ben Affleck timeline. They're different. So then you have to kind of chalk it up to the butterfly effect. So essentially, in the current situation, if again you change one thing, all these other unexpected things happen. And so maybe when you have time travelers, and not even just Nora Allen, maybe other time travelers like Booster Gold, their lives are changing. This new timeline is different. And so they go back and cause all these other changes that would lead to Bruce Wayne having, parents that look different, who knows? And the other thing you also have to account for is the presence of supernatural beings, like, for example, the Fates in the DC Comics, or I think it's Nabu in Black Adam, but the one that gives Dr. Fate his powers. So you have these powerful beings who can essentially alter reality in a way to create reality in the way that they want to. So even with, these time travelers, even with, all these other potential factors, you also have these supernatural beings that can just kind of create the timeline they want. And so all these things together make, as improbable as it sounds, the idea that things can be changed previous to the actual change in the film, the change being saving Nora, the original Nora Allen, not the daughter, but the original Nora Allen, saving her life could cause all sorts of changes, even things in the past. Now, if you found that video interesting and or informative, please like this video, subscribe to my channel. Also, please share this video. And if there are other comics or sci-fi related things you want me to talk about in future videos, please leave those suggestions in the comment section below. Thank you all for your time and have a wonderful rest of your day.